velo is the big thing that we're focusing on. And we talked a lot tonight about the kinematic sequence of pitching. So this is one of your earlier pitches today. One of the first ones, I think this was your third pitch. One of the faster, more efficient ones of the day. But let's review the sequence that you have here and apply what we talked about today. All right, so first thing I want to do is let's look at the knee raise. Okay, not a bad spot, right? Shoulders facing straight forward, hips pointing at the batter. You're creating that torque right here in the hips. So that's pretty good position right here. Okay. Now let's go forward a couple frames. All right. You can see the kind of lean here, leaning back. Your hip is going forward, right? And I mentioned, like Pedro talks about riding the slide, right? So really, we should still be a little bit more upright here, sitting back, and this leg's gonna start going forward. But we don't want to just throw the hip at this point, right? Let's go forward a few more. All right, so look at the foot, the front foot. We talked a lot about this today, right? You're coming straight down, and then you're kind of gliding along the ground, coming back up with the foot, and then going straight down. All right, so at the point of foot contact, boom, right there, this front foot is already pointing straight at the plate. So you can't get any kind of rotation around that front hip, creating any torque. All right. So like I said, this foot needs to be slightly closed. All right. And then we talked about the back leg, right? And this was before we talked about the right hip rotating internally, right? But here you don't have any hip rotation going on. This isn't at the angle that we really want, right? This is kind of going off over there. But look at the forearm, right? You're out here with it. Where if we're staying back and you're getting in a power position, oops, run. If you're staying back and you're in a power position, you're gonna be up like here with it. So let's go watch the whole thing go through. See what we're talking about. Like, does that look like it's a powerful position, right? Your goal is to throw 80, right? That's not the power position that we talked about. Okay, so not a bad thing, right? We made a lot of adjustments tonight. So this was before the adjustments. Now let's go and we'll look at the last pitch of the night after all the adjustments. Okay. Come over on this side. All right. Good position here. Back leg is straight. Still creating that torque. Good posture there. Shoulders facing the plate. That's really good. Let's go a couple frames forward. Now, we're not leaning anymore, right? But we're still kind of floating forward where we should still be staying back and just kind of sitting back as the front leg's going to go forward. Okay? We're still riding down. Look at the front leg. Still gonna slide, kind of ride along, soft landing, but you are slightly closed, right? And we focused a lot on that tonight, and we still want that to be a little bit more closed, but you do have a little bit of room here to rotate around that front hip. All right, this is still pointing out just a little bit and a little high, right? At this point, if we're in the right kinematic sequence, this hip is already fired and rotating since we made foot contact there. So this whole leg should be rotated. Knee should be going more towards the plate. Back foot should be pivoted. And then again, this should be up here, right? So you're kind of in this position where I really want you to at least be like here with it as opposed to being down here. Okay, now watch it play out. It's going to create a little bit of late arm action. Okay, now we talked about the kinematic sequence. Okay, let's look. So if we put let's start here. If we put a marker, if we put markers on your hips, your shoulders, your elbow, your wrist, and your torso, right? We talked about the order that we want them in. So let's look at what happens here, okay? Here goes the stride out, foot contact. All right, the first thing that rotates is that front hip, your left hip, right? And we know that should be way down in the sequence, okay? You already started, the torso is about to start rotating right here. That back hip hasn't rotated at all. Right here, you see there goes the torso. Back hip's kind of still staying there. So there's another thing that is out of sequence, okay? Now your trunk comes, the glove's starting to come back a little bit in retraction. The hip is gone, okay? Now, this position here, right? What I want you to do is I want you to go Google some power pictures, right? Google Jacob Mizorowski and look at his stride and look at his back leg position. Like it's down here, right? He's almost on the ground with the knee, okay? Because he's getting so much power coming out of that backside. This could be up a little bit more, your back elbow creating a little bit more of that momentum from when you're pulling. All right, elbow comes through. That part's fine. And there's the release. All right, not super bad at this point, right? That front leg's a little straighter than I'd like it. It's already rotated, so we can't really do much about that. Good trunk position right there. Let's see the follow through. There's the release. Now your hips are having to go up and over the plant leg, which is going to cause you to kind of go off to the side. All right, so not bad. I mean, that was 63.8 with two parts of the sequence out of sync. So I think really, like, if we can get consistently 70 before your first spring tournament, I think we're in a good position. And then combining that with the weight room, I think 80 by your freshman year of high school, I think that would be really solid for you. I think it's completely doable because we've got a whole year to work on that. The sequencing stuff, like, it's gonna take reps, and it's gonna take reps because you've been out of timing for a while, I would assume. And so we're gonna address that. We already talked about how we're gonna address it, right? Long toss is a great tool for developing sequencing. So we're gonna do that every time before we pitch, and really focus on it. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. Overall, pretty good job considering that it was snow flurrying while you were pitching tonight.